Hi, I'm not Jake, and today we're going to show you how player optimized, also known as player placed terrain, works.
If you're new to the channel, what I do here is primarily cover competitive 40K content, and I also host fun and informative battle reports at various competitive levels. If this kind of content interests you, you can stay up to date by staying subscribed, which greatly helps the growth of the channel. You saw her in the intro, but allow me to make a formal introduction. Another fellow local Vegas player whom I've had the pleasure of getting to know, a super mega wholesome player who always brings fun to the tabletop, my good friend Rileigh.
Yay!
So tell us, Rileigh, how long have you been playing competitive 40K?
I started playing 40K in about 2018 during 8th edition. I played Pure Sisters of Battle at the time. Heading into 9th edition, I've mostly been playing White Scars and Harlequins, so close combat armies that move pretty fast.
Hyper aggressive, love it,
Yes.
Love your style. Well, thank you so much for helping me do this video.
Thank you for having me.
Player placed terrain is something Frontline Gaming implemented in response to recent 9th edition ITC player feedback, since the overall game itself certainly has changed since 8th. What the intent is to balance the literal playing field for melee and range focused armies, which could heavily be skewed either one way or another when playing on preset terrain boards. This mechanic definitely favors those who are knowledgeable about how core 40K terrain rules work, which I personally feel is a crucial part of the game as a whole. The purpose of this video is to help you better understand how player placed terrain works and demonstrate how you should consider each step of the process during your tournament matches. More importantly, we'll be showing you how quick and easy it actually is once you understand how it works. Speaking of Frontline Gaming, today's video is sponsored by FLG, who supplied all of this gorgeous terrain to be used for demonstration. For those of you who might not already know, FLG are the awesome folks who run and host numerous ITC events around the country that most of us already know and love. They also produce some of the best neoprene mats available, ITC terrain sets like the ones we're using today, and you can even check out their secondhand store if you're in the market to buy or sell any used models. But before we start the demonstration, allow us to briefly explain how this mechanic works so you have a better idea of how to follow along the process.
At an event using this format, prior to each game, players will use a total of 10 minutes of time off the clock to settle pre-game actions and adjust the terrain.
Each terrain piece will have a pre-assigned characteristic such as obscuring, defensible, dense cover, so on and so forth, which you will always find in each event's player packet.
I really can't stress enough the importance of thoroughly reading through the event player packs because terrain characteristics and keywords can change between events.
And I'm fairly convinced that player placed terrain will become somewhat of a standard for competitive play, well, at least for Frontline Gaming's tournament specifically, and I can definitely see why, since it adds that extra layer of balance amidst the current mixed bag of meta armies. Terrain pieces are divided typically by battlefield territories along the center line of said deployment map. Starting with the defender, players alternate placing one piece at a time from their half of the terrain pile until all pieces have been placed. Keep in mind, all of the terrain must be placed.
Some tables you encounter might have a building in the center, such as the Orc terrain table, that is not to be moved unless an objective must be placed in the center of the board. In this instance, the defender adjusts that piece as their first terrain placement, moving it the minimum distance along the center line to make room for the center objective. This will result in the building being moved in one of only two directions along the center line, with the intent of keeping it as equally in either player's table side as possible.
There are, of course, some basic restrictions to keep in mind though. Firstly, terrain must be at least 4 inches from a table edge or another piece of terrain. Terrain marked with an asterisk in the player packet must also be at least 6 inches away from another piece of terrain marked with an asterisk. These may change from time to time, but usually refer to obscuring ruins. If either player has a fortification, they may place it on the table for the purpose of measuring space during this step, but it will be deployed following the normal rules.
In the instance one or more players has a model with a footprint more than 6 inches in diameter in their narrowest measurement, adjust the terrain as needed to allow them to be able to traverse the board. Do call a judge for assistance as needed, or if you happen to run out of board space so that they can resolve it fairly for you. The more you know about how terrain functions within the game, the better this new mechanic will suit you, we promise.
Now let's see how this all works in real time. One of the common setups you'll see is the Gothic Ruins table, and we'll be demonstrating using Mission 22, which is Battle Lines. This is a 4-objective map with a Hold 1, Hold 2, Hold More primary scoring mission. Since there's no center terrain piece on this set, every piece is then divided equally along the center line.
Next up is the Orcs table using Mission 33, Priority Targets. Now this is a 5-objective map, also with a Hold 1, Hold 2, Hold More primary scoring, with a Vanguard Strike style deployment setup. Now on this map, there is a center terrain piece as well as center objective. Starting with the defender, they will proceed to move the center piece first, the minimum distance possible to clear the center objective.
See, there's really not that much to it, right? It can definitely be daunting to conceptualize this process when only looking at it on paper, but in practice, it's really easy to get the hang of, especially after even just a little bit of practice. If you are a hardcore tournament player, I definitely suggest investing in a frontline gaming terrain set to practice on at home to get a feel for the precise dimensions of the pieces, but once you familiarize yourself with how this all works, GW terrain naturally works totally fine. Rileigh, thank you so much for coming onto the channel today and helping me demonstrate all of this. Now, I have to ask, what's it going to take to get you on a battle report with us?
Tacos. Tacos are always good. I will gladly take tacos.
Deal, done, sold, sold for cash.
Yay.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, and if you found this video to be helpful or informative by any measure and would like to see more content like this,
please stay subscribed and join in on the conversation.
I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Sorry.